That line wasn't just a catchy hook, it was a declaration. Teena Marie wasn't built to fit a mold. She was soul in its purest, most defiant form, wrapped in fire, poetry, and a voice that shook the very foundation of R&B. When she first hit the airwaves, people swore she had to be black. That voice, rich, velvet smooth, electrified with gospel, jazz, and funk, it came from somewhere deep. But Teena Marie wasn't trying to fool anyone. She just sang from the depths of her soul, and the world had no choice but to feel it. They called her the Ivory Queen of Soul, but labels could never quite capture her magic. She wasn't just a white woman singing black music. She lived it. She respected it. And most of all, she helped redefine it. But behind the powerhouse voice and platinum curls was a woman who fought battles most never saw. From legal wars with Motown to the heartbreak of losing her soulmate, Rick James, from being underestimated to carving out her legacy by sheer force of will. Teena Marie's story is one of rebellion, reinvention, and resilience. This is the story of a woman who broke the rules, honored the roots, and gave us a soundtrack we'll never forget. If you love uncovering the real stories behind the voices that shaped music history, hit that subscribe button and join us here on RetroWaves, where legends live on. Long before she ever stepped foot in a studio, Mary Christine Brockert was already something of a dreamer. Born on March 5, 1956, in Santa Monica, California, she grew up in the small, beachy neighborhood of Oakwood in Venice, a working-class area known for its blend of cultures, rhythms, and grit. Her father, a construction worker of Portuguese descent, and her mother, a kind and steady presence, raised her in a modest household full of faith, music, and heart. From an early age, Mary was captivated by sound. Her childhood was filled with the harmonies of Motown, the rasp of Billie Holiday, the orchestral swells of jazz, and the power of gospel choirs. She would sit by the record player for hours, mimicking every vocal run, every soul-shaking cry, until the music became part of her. She was writing poetry by the time she was 5, and at 8, she was performing in her first talent show. Teachers and neighbors couldn't believe the voice coming out of such a tiny girl. It was raspy and powerful, full of raw emotion, the kind that stopped you in your tracks. But it wasn't just her voice that made her stand out. It was the way she felt the music, the way she closed her eyes when she sang, as if channeling something bigger than herself. She once told a friend, "I don't sing the notes, I live them." By the time she reached high school, Mary had adopted the nickname Teena. Petite in stature but mighty in spirit, she was already composing her own music and performing in local groups, including a short stint with an all-female rock band. But even as she dipped her toes into rock and pop, her soul pulled her elsewhere, toward funk, jazz, and the deep grooves of R&B. She didn't just want to sing like her idols. She wanted to earn her place among them. Teena Marie was already building a voice that couldn't be boxed in, and a destiny no one could have predicted. Breaking into the music industry is never easy, but for Teena Marie the climb was steeper and lonelier than most. After studying English literature and taking theater classes at Santa Monica College, Teena found herself pulled toward a deeper calling. She started auditioning for roles, singing wherever she could, and chasing the dream like her life depended on it, because, in many ways, it did. Her first real break came when she landed a role in a canceled TV show that had caught the attention of Motown. And just like that, this white girl from Venice found herself inside the hallowed halls of the most legendary black music label in America. At first, Motown didn't quite know what to do with her. She was a singer, yes, but also a songwriter, a multi-instrumentalist, and a genre-bending creative force that didn't fit the label's usual formula. Then in walked Rick James. Rick took one listen to her voice and knew he had found something rare. The chemistry between them was instant, electric. He became her mentor, collaborator, and musical soulmate. In 1979, Motown released her debut album, Wild and Peaceful. But there was a twist. The album dropped without her photo on the cover. Whether it was a marketing decision or a protective one, the effect was immediate. Radio DJs and fans assumed she was black. It wasn't until her first television appearance that the world saw her for the first time, and jaws dropped. Some were confused, others were angry, but most were simply stunned that a white woman could feel soul music the way Teena Marie did. Still, Teena had to prove herself over and over, not just to the industry, but to an audience that didn't know what to make of her. She fought to be heard, to be taken seriously, to be more than just a novelty. But that fight lit a fire in her. She wasn't just going to sing soul, she was going to own it. By the early '80s, Teena had carved a space for herself within Motown's roster, but that space was starting to feel like a cage. Despite her growing popularity, she faced serious creative limitations. The label wanted to control her output, her collaborations, even her identity. For an artist as fiercely independent as Teena, it felt like suffocation. Then came the breaking point. Motown attempted to shelve her music, refusing to release new material while still holding her under contract. For most artists, that would have meant the end, a career stalled in legal limbo. But not for Teena. She fought back. With the help of a savvy legal team, she sued Motown, and in doing so, made music history. The result was the landmark Brockert Initiative, a law that prohibited record labels from holding artists under contract without releasing their work. Teena Marie, barely 5 feet tall, went toe-to-toe with one of the most powerful labels in the world, and won. But the victory came at a cost. The legal battle was emotionally draining. Her relationship with Rick James grew increasingly volatile, passion and music mixed with jealousy and pain. And though their chemistry produced some of the most iconic duets of the decade, it also brought heartbreak. Still, Teena pressed on. She poured her anguish into her music, crafting lyrics that cut deep and grooves that hit harder than ever. Her voice had always been her weapon, and now it was her shield too. In 1984, Teena released an album that would forever cement her place in music history, Starchild. It was bold, funky, radiant, and right at the center was a song that exploded across the airwaves, Lovergirl. From the opening synths to her fiery vocal delivery, Lovergirl was irresistible. It soared to the top of the charts, turning Teena Marie into a mainstream sensation. No longer just a cult favorite or Rick James's protégé. She was now a star in her own right. But there was another track, buried deeper in her catalog, that fans still whisper about, Fire and Desire. A duet with Rick James, it was more than just a song. It was a confession, a conversation, a love letter wrapped in heartbreak. The chemistry between them was undeniable, the pain in their voices raw and unfiltered. That performance would become legendary. Years later, at the BET Awards, Teena and Rick took the stage together one last time, delivering a rendition so charged with emotion that the entire room stood still. Two souls, bound by art and pain, saying goodbye through song. It was in those moments that Teena's power truly came through. She didn't just sing about love and loss, she lived it in every note. By the late '80s, Teena Marie had earned her crown. She was one of the few white artists embraced fully by the black community, not because of image, but because of respect, because of soul, because of truth. She wrote her own songs, played her own instruments, produced her own albums. In a male-dominated industry, she stood tall as a creative force. Her sound was rich with funk, Latin grooves, jazz, and gospel, always evolving, always bold. Artists from Missy Elliott to Beyoncé would later cite her as an influence. Erykah Badu called her the coldest white chick ever born, and the streets, they never forgot her. Beyond the music, Teena quietly became an advocate for artists' rights, using her own legal victory to pave the way for others. She also mentored younger artists, reminding them to protect their voices, both literally and legally. She had become more than a singer. She was now a legend. Behind the powerful vocals and public persona, Teena Marie was a deeply introspective soul, a woman of warmth, poetry, and fierce maternal love. She became a mother in 1991 when she gave birth to her daughter, Aaliyah Rose. For Teena, motherhood was transformational. She often spoke of how her daughter gave her life deeper meaning, grounding her through the turbulence of fame and the loneliness that sometimes followed it. The bond between them was unshakable. Teena didn't just raise Aaliyah as a mother, she nurtured her as an artist, encouraging her to find her voice, just as she had once done. Though she never married, Teena's heart carried a lifelong love for Rick James. Their relationship was a whirlwind, part friendship, part romance, always complicated. They fought, loved, inspired each other, and broke each other's hearts. But the connection remained. When Rick died in 2004, a part of her went with him. She later admitted, "He was my musical soulmate. I never stopped loving him." As she moved into her later years, Teena faced health challenges that would shadow her final chapter. In 2004, she suffered a traumatic accident when a large picture frame fell on her head in a hotel room. It caused severe concussive injuries, leading to debilitating seizures that altered her ability to tour and record with the same intensity. She often spoke of the pain, but she never let it define her. Instead, she leaned into her faith. A devout Christian and spiritual seeker, Teena found strength in prayer, poetry, and the quiet moments she spent with her daughter. Then came the day no one saw coming. On December 26, 2010, just one day after celebrating Christmas with Aaliyah, Teena Marie passed away in her sleep. Natural causes, they said. Peaceful. But the silence that followed felt anything but. Fans, friends, and fellow artists flooded social media with tributes. Shock gave way to sorrow, and sorrow to remembrance. We had lost a legend, not just because of her music, but because of the soul behind it. Teena's body was gone, but her voice, that would echo for generations. Even as the spotlight dimmed in her later years, Teena Marie remained creatively unstoppable. She continued to write and record with unwavering passion, pouring her life experiences, the highs, the heartbreaks, the hard-earned wisdom, into her lyrics. Her later albums, such as La Doña and Congo Square, were critically acclaimed for their depth and honesty. They weren't just returns to form, they were evolutions. She infused them with spoken word, jazz, hip-hop influences, and spiritual musings, all woven together with her unmistakable voice. And in those years, something shifted. Teena began to embrace the full weight of her journey, not just as a musician, but as a trailblazer. She reflected openly in interviews about the legal fight with Motown, her enduring friendship with Rick James, and the challenges of navigating race and gender in the music industry. She wasn't bitter, she was grateful, proud, a woman at peace with her path. Her daughter Aaliyah often joined her in the studio, quietly learning at her mother's side. Teena poured into her not only musical knowledge, but the resilience and dignity it took to survive the industry. She wanted Aaliyah to carry the flame, not just of the music, but of the message. After her passing, Aaliyah Rose took on the mantle of preserving her mother's legacy. She helped finish and release beautiful Teena's final album. It's a stunning, soulful goodbye, filled with love, longing, and the quiet strength of someone who knew her time was near. In the end, Teena Marie wasn't just remembered as the Ivory Queen of Soul. She was remembered as a pioneer, a poet, a warrior of sound and spirit, a woman who gave everything and left behind music that still heals, still inspires, still lives. What's your favorite Teena Marie song? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear the soundtrack of your memories. And if you're into iconic artists, timeless tracks, and powerful stories from the golden eras of music, hit like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss a beat here on RetroWaves. Because here, we honor more than just the hits. We honor the hearts behind them.